Alison, a remarkable performance, 4% growth in 2012, almost 10 in 2013 and now almost 15 in 2014. But before we look at the future, let's have a look at those data for a little bit. These growth rates are well ahead of the growth rates enjoyed by Europe generally from North America this year and Britain in particular. What do you put all that down to, while remaining modest, of course, and explaining it to me?
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's been a tremendous year so far. We're up 15%, and that essentially translates into about an extra 150,000 visitors. Why do I think we're doing well? Well, I think, first of all, I think the significant increase in air access, that's been a major driver. Secondly, I think the sustained investment, not only by Tourism Ireland, but by the industry, and I think we're very fortunate in Ireland that we have a very strong partnership with our industry, a huge number of industry partners working with us in the United States and Canada. That helps keeping Brand Ireland front and centre with our key stakeholders. Thirdly, I think the value on the ground, I think that's recognised by US and Canadian consumers. So I think as long as we remain competitive, that's obviously a big selling feature.
Sure.
And the investment in the product, I mean, whether it's the Wild Atlantic Way, the Causeway Coastal Route, the investment in our cities, that is certainly keeping Ireland's product fresh and competitive. But to give you a bit of context, Eamon, if we look at the US outbound market, particularly to Europe, it's up 5% through the end of October. So Ireland is gaining significant
Strong market share gain.
And as you know, when we undertook a review 2 years ago, our goal was to get Ireland's market share up to about 9%. So if we imagine about 11.5 million Americans will travel to Europe this year, Ireland will come in around welcoming about 1.1 million Americans. Our market share is closer to 10%. So.
Excellent, well done. And just before we move on to talk about the future, how has Canada done this year with all the new air access that came on board in the early part of the year?
Yeah, well, very exciting times. We don't actually have specific data yet from the CSO for Canada, but feedback from leading visitor attractions around the island of Ireland, also feedback from industry on the ground here and industry in Canada would indicate that we're going to see strong double-digit growth. We set very ambitious targets. We're looking at about 47% growth in visitor numbers between 2013 and 2016, and this year we hope to welcome close to 150,000 visitors, which will be up 25% on last year. Yeah. So it's looking very good at this point.
Very good. And of course, the problem about all these great growth rates, Alison, is that we get used to them and we like them. So, but given that there are strong economies in the US and Canada, favourable currency exchange rates from their perspectives, it ought to be looking good. What's your forecast for growth in 2015?
Well, we expect to see continued growth, continued business momentum. Our forecast for next year is around 6% growth in both promotable visitors and total visitors, but it is all about the all-important promotable revenue that we're really judged upon, and we're looking for growth in the region of about 9% from North America.
And air access remains good, improving in fact?
It actually is improving. Next year we will see a further 16% increase in direct access from the United States to Ireland. So that actually translates into about an additional 5,000 seats. That's very significant because that will give us 40,000 seats per week from 10 gateways, more than we've ever had before. Yeah. It's an opportunity, but it's also a challenge.
Sure.
But it's a key driver of growth, as we know. And from Canada, we will also see continued, continued growth of another 18%.
Great. And there was one aspect that I picked up on this year, Alison, and that was that while everybody here in Ireland enjoyed strong growth, it seems to be more pronounced in the individual traveller market as distinct from the group tour market. Is that a blip or is that a trend, do you think?
I think it's probably a blip. I think there's certainly continued interest in the escorted market and in the group market. I mean, from both the US and Canada, always been very, very popular. There's some great tour product out there, but we are seeing an increasing trend towards independent travel, particularly from a younger segment as we invest more in targeting that younger traveller. Sure. As we also target the culturally curious traveller. Repeat travellers very often are coming back and want to explore independently. Sure. But there's no doubt about it, the escorted tour market is very popular, offers tremendous value, and it's a segment that continues to grow.
Great. And no doubt other destinations are now looking at Ireland and they're trying to figure out what our success formula is and why it is that we're increasing market share. So who do you see as our main competitors?
Well, our main competitors, obviously, our closest neighbour will be Great Britain. That's obviously a major competitor for us, and particularly Scotland within that group. Italy, France, Spain, also very popular with Americans and Canadians. So we just have to, there's no room for complacency here. We just have to sort of keep our head down, stay focused on what we're doing, and hopefully continue to grow our market.
And do you feel your marketing campaigns are adequately resourced to withstand this competitive onslaught that you're going to?
Well, I think it's really important that there's sort of correlation between sort of long-term targets and investment in the market, and I think that's critical. There's obviously been downward pressure on budgets, so but Ireland does remain well-funded compared with our competitors.
And I gather that your campaigns are starting a little earlier this year than in former times.
Absolutely. We're kickstarting 2015 with a very exciting television campaign. We'll be advertising in New York, Boston, Chicago, Philadelphia, Atlanta, as well as Los Angeles and San Francisco. So Ireland will be front and centre at a very critical planning period for Americans over the holiday period.
Yeah. Great. Well, Alison, we regularly see you over here, of course, but can I, through you, extend our sincere gratitude for all the work that you and your wonderful staff do out there. It's a great stretch that we're going through from the US and Canada. And while obviously growth from any source market is great, but growth from North America is always more appreciated in the sense that they stay longer and they travel to the west of Ireland, of course. And it was notable in the west of Ireland this year that people were responding very well to this increase in travel. So well done. Keep it going.
Thank you very much, Eamon. Thank you. Always good to see you.